I was slicing the roast chicken when my daughter-in-law looked me dead in the eye and told me it was time for me to find another place to live. We were sitting at my dining table in the house I had paid off 5 years after my husband passed away. Liam, my son, was aggressively cutting his carrots, avoiding my gaze completely. Sarah, his wife, wiped her mouth with a cloth napkin and offered me a sickeningly sweet smile. "Gail, we've been thinking—" Sarah began, resting her hand over Liam's. "My mother, Barbara, is having a hard time on her own. She needs stability. We've decided she's going to move in here with us." I set my knife down, keeping my breathing even. "Is that so? And where exactly do you plan to put her?" "Sarah?" "Well, that's the thing," she replied, not missing a beat. "She has bad knees, so she needs the master bedroom on the ground floor. Your room. We found a nice little senior apartment complex a few towns over that you can rent. We think it's best if you move out by next weekend." Liam finally looked up, his expression a mix of guilt and forced resolve. "It makes sense, Mom. You're retired. You don't need all this space. Plus, Sarah's mom really needs us right now." I stared at the two of them. They had moved in 3 years ago to save for a down payment, a goal that had quietly vanished as they filled my driveway with a new SUV and my recycling bin with expensive delivery boxes. "I see," I murmured, taking a sip of water. Sarah leaned forward, her tone turning cold. "Let's be honest, Gail. You're just a guest in our daily lives now. It's our time to run a household. We'll help you pack your things on Sunday." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply picked up my fork and took a bite of chicken. They thought my silence was submission, but they had no idea what was coming. The sun wasn't even up when I brewed my first cup of coffee. I sat at the kitchen island with my laptop open, the glow illuminating the quiet house. Sarah and Liam were still asleep upstairs, blissfully unaware that their comfortable, subsidized world was about to shatter. Since they moved in, they had treated my bank account like a communal well. I paid the utility bills, the property taxes, the high-speed internet, and the premium cable package Sarah insisted she needed for her evening wind down. Liam transferred me a meager $200 a month, which he proudly called rent, though it barely covered the water they wasted. I logged into my banking portal. With a few swift clicks, I canceled the auto payments for the internet, the cable, and the streaming services. I transferred the funds from the joint emergency account Liam and I shared into my personal account. Then I tackled the utilities, downgrading everything to the absolute minimum basic plans. Next, I opened a new tab and searched for a local moving and storage company. I didn't need a lawyer to tell me what I owned. I owned the furniture in the spare rooms, the beds, the dressers, everything. I booked a crew for 10 o'clock that morning. By the time Liam stumbled downstairs at 7, rubbing his eyes and wearing expensive silk pajamas, I was already dressed and watering the hydrangeas on the patio. "Morning, Mom," he mumbled, pouring himself coffee. "Wi-Fi is acting weird. Do we need to reset the router?" "I wouldn't know," I answered, stepping back inside and drying my hands. "I canceled it." He froze the coffee pot, hovering in the air. "You what?" "Why? I'm just a guest, Liam," I smiled calmly. "Guests don't pay the internet bill. You'll have to set up an account in your own name." Before he could process the reality of that statement, a large white truck pulled into the driveway. Sarah came rushing down the stairs, her robe tied loosely, her phone held up like a weapon. "Liam, the Wi-Fi is down, and my data plan is maxed out. Fix it." She stopped short when she saw the 3 burly men in matching blue shirts standing in the foyer. The foreman handed me a clipboard. "Morning, ma'am. We're here for the guest room furniture. Right upstairs," I directed, signing the paper. "The 2 spare bedrooms at the end of the hall. Take the beds, the nightstands, the wardrobes, everything." Sarah's face drained of color. "Wait, what are you doing?" My mother is coming on Friday. Where is she going to sleep? That sounds like a problem for the heads of the household, I replied, leaning against the counter. Since I'm moving out, I thought I'd get a head start. I'm putting my spare furniture in storage. If Barbara needs a bed, you'll have to buy one. You can't do this, Sarah yelled, stepping in front of the movers. This is our house, too. I walked over, pulling a small silver key from my pocket. No, Sarah, it isn't. I turned to the foreman. Please proceed. Just the 2 back rooms. Liam grabbed my arm. His voice panicked. Mom, please, stop this. We don't have the money to buy a new bedroom set by Friday. I gently removed his hand from my arm. Then you better start saving Liam. Or perhaps Barbara can bring her own. For the next 2 hours, my son and his wife stood in stunned silence as the movers dismantled the comfortable rooms they had taken for granted. They watched the thick mattresses, the oak dressers, and the plush rugs get carried out the front door. When the truck finally drove away, the second floor echoed with emptiness. You're acting like a child, Sarah hissed, glaring at me. No! I corrected, grabbing my purse. I'm acting like a homeowner. Have a good day at work, you two. By Wednesday, the atmosphere in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Liam and Sarah had tried to order a new bed online, but Liam's credit card, the one linked to my main account, was declined. He had confronted me about it in the hallway, looking completely bewildered. Mom, my card isn't working. I was trying to get a mattress overnighted. That's because it's my credit line, Liam, I explained, folding a towel. I removed you as an authorized user. You have a job. Use your own money. He looked at me as if I had spoken in a foreign language. The truth was, Liam spent his entire paycheck on car modifications, expensive dinners, and whatever Sarah wanted. They had 0 savings. That evening, I replaced the digital thermostat with an old-school lockbox model. I set the temperature to a crisp 62 degrees and pocketed the only key. When Sarah came home from work, shivering and complaining about the cold, she marched straight to the living room where I was reading. Turn the heat up, Gail. It's freezing in here, she demanded, wrapping her arms around herself. Heating is expensive. I turned a page. If you want the temperature raised, I'll need a contribution to the gas bill. $200 should cover the difference for the month. She gasped. I am not paying you to be warm in my own home. Then put on a sweater, I suggested. Later that night, I heard the shower turn on, followed immediately by a sharp shriek from Sarah. I had turned the water heater down to a lukewarm setting, just enough for a quick, efficient wash, but completely inadequate for Sarah's usual 40-minute steam sessions. Liam came down, his hair wet and his teeth chattering. Mom, the water is freezing. Budget cuts. Liam. I smiled. Running a house is expensive. You'll understand once you're the one paying for it. Friday afternoon brought heavy rain and Barbara. She pulled up in a taxi, wrestling 3 large suitcases up the driveway. Sarah rushed out with an umbrella, fussing over her mother, while Liam trailed behind, carrying the bags inside. Barbara stepped into the foyer, shaking off her coat. Oh, it is absolutely freezing in this house, she complained immediately. She looked at me, her expression sour. Gail, I thought you would be packed by now. Hello, Barbara. Welcome, I said smoothly, not moving from my spot near the kitchen. I'm not going anywhere, but feel free to make yourself comfortable. Sarah shot me a venomous look before turning to her mother with a forced smile. Don't worry, Mom. Let me show you your room. They marched upstairs, their footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. 10 seconds later, I heard Barbara's loud, confused voice. Where is the bed? Where is the furniture? It's just bare floors. Sarah's voice was a frantic whisper, trying to calm her down. A moment later, Liam came rushing downstairs, looking frantic. Mom, please, just for tonight, let Barbara sleep in your room. She's tired. My bedroom is mine, Liam, I stated, pulling a fresh batch of cookies from the oven. The smell of chocolate chips filled the cold air. I believe you have an inflatable mattress in the garage from your camping trip 3 years ago. I suggest you go inflate it. Barbara came down the stairs, her face red with fury. I am not sleeping on an air mattress on the floor. Sarah told me I was getting the master suite. Sarah promised you something she didn't own. I replied, taking a bite of a warm cookie. The garage is through that door, Liam. Better get pumping. It takes a while. Barbara glared at her daughter. What kind of place is this? It's my place, I corrected. And the air mattress is actually quite firm. The weekend was a masterclass in endurance. Barbara complained incessantly about her back, the cold, and the lack of Wi-Fi. Sarah spent the entire time apologizing to her mother and throwing daggers at me with her eyes. Liam simply hid in the living room, staring at his phone screen since there was no internet to play his video games. On Sunday morning, Sarah marched into the kitchen, opening the large stainless steel refrigerator. She pulled out a carton of eggs, some bacon, and my premium orange juice. I walked over and quietly placed my hand on the carton of eggs. "What are you doing?" she snapped. "I'm making breakfast for my mother." "With my groceries?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "I don't think so." "You expect us to starve," Sarah yelled, her voice echoing through the house. "I expect adults to buy their own food." I pulled the groceries from her hands and placed them back in the fridge. From my pocket, I produced a heavy-duty padlock and a chain. I looped it through the handles of the refrigerator and snapped it shut. Sarah's jaw dropped. "Are you insane? You locked the fridge?" "I secured my assets," I corrected. "You have the pantry for your dry goods, but this refrigerator and everything in it belongs to me. If you want fresh food, the supermarket is 3 miles away." Liam walked in, drawn by the yelling. "Mom, come on. This is too much. Just let her make some eggs." "Liam, you have not bought a single grocery item for this house in 3 years. I looked at him squarely. "If you want to feed your wife and your mother-in-law, you know how to drive to the store." He patted his pockets, his face flushing. I don't get paid until Thursday, and my credit card is still declined. Then I suggest you get very creative with the canned beans in the pantry." I smiled, grabbing my purse to head out for a nice, quiet brunch. Monday morning brought a new level of panic for Liam and Sarah. I woke up early, enjoyed a hot cup of coffee from my locked kitchen cabinet, and walked out to the driveway. Liam drove a sleek black sedan. It was a beautiful car, but he had terrible credit when he bought it. To help him out, I had co-signed the loan and the car was registered in my name. I had also been paying the insurance. I unlocked the car with my spare key, popped the trunk, and pulled out his gym bag and a few scattered jackets. I locked it back up and walked back inside, hanging the spare key on my personal keychain. When Liam came down at 8 o'clock, dressed for his office job, he grabbed his usual spot on the key hook. His hand grasped empty air. "Mom, have you seen my car keys?" he called out. "I have them," I said, stepping into the hallway. "I took them off your ring last night." "Why, I need to get to work." "You'll have to take the bus, Liam. The stop is at the corner." I pointed toward the street. "Since you aren't paying rent, I can no longer afford the insurance on that car. I canceled the policy this morning. It's illegal to drive uninsured, so the car stays parked." Sarah appeared at the top of the stairs, her hair a mess. "He can't take the bus. He's a junior vice president." "Then a junior vice president can afford an Uber," I countered. Liam looked devastated. "Mom, please, I'll be late." "Time management is a valuable skill," I noted. "The number 42 bus arrives in 12 minutes. You better run." He stood there for a moment, waiting for me to cave. I didn't. When he realized I was completely serious, he grabbed his briefcase and sprinted out the front door into the rain. I turned to see Sarah glaring at me from the stairs, while Barbara complained from the floor of the empty guest room. By Wednesday, the house was functioning purely on tension. Liam was exhausted from his 2-hour bus commutes. Sarah was furious that she had to eat peanut butter sandwiches because they had no grocery money. Barbara's complaints had evolved into constant demands for Sarah to fix this mess. That evening, I sat at the dining table with a neat stack of papers in front of me. When Liam and Sarah walked in looking miserable and damp from the rain, I gestured to the chairs opposite me. "Sit down," I commanded. My voice wasn't loud, but it held a tone that made them both obey instantly. I pushed a piece of paper toward them. "This is an itemized list of what it costs to run this house every month. Mortgage, taxes, utilities, insurance, maintenance, and groceries." Liam stared at the number at the bottom. His eyes widened. This is how much you pay?" "Every 30 days, I confirmed. "For 3 years you have lived here like children playing house while I subsidized your entire existence. You decided I was just a guest. You decided my bedroom belonged to Barbara. So here is the new arrangement." I pushed a second piece of paper across the wood. "If you want to be the heads of the household, you will pay exactly 2/3 of the total monthly expenses due on the 1st of every month. That covers you and Sarah. Barbara is a guest, and guests do not live here full-time without contributing. Her share is an additional $800 a month." Sarah slammed her hand on the table. "We don't have that kind of money." "You know we don't." "Then you cannot afford to live here," I stated plainly. "You have until Friday to pay the first installment. If the money isn't in my account by noon, you need to pack your things." "You wouldn't kick your own son out." Sarah challenged, her eyes narrowing. I looked straight at Liam. "I'm not kicking him out. I'm forcing him to grow up. Friday, noon." Thursday night was a breaking point. I sat in my locked bedroom reading a novel while the walls vibrated with the sound of arguing downstairs. Sarah's voice cut through the floorboards. "You need to do something, Liam. She's bluffing. Just stand up to her." With what Sarah, Liam yelled back a rare occurrence. "She showed me the bank statements. We have $40 in checking. She paid for everything. The car, the heat, the food. We can't afford to live here, let alone take care of your mother. So we're just going to let her treat us like trash," Sarah shrieked. "She treated us like royalty." Liam's voice cracked. "And you told her to move out. You told her she was a guest. I let you do it because I was a coward, but I'm not fighting her on this. We are completely in the wrong." Footsteps stomped across the hardwood. Doors slammed. The next morning, Friday, at 10 a.m., I walked downstairs to find Sarah and Barbara hauling their suitcases toward the front door. Sarah's face was a mask of pure rage. "We are going to a hotel," Sarah spat at me. "And then we are finding an apartment, a place where my mother is respected." "Good luck with the security deposit," I replied calmly. Liam stood by the staircase holding a small duffel bag, but he wasn't moving toward the door. "Are you coming or not?" Sarah demanded, holding the front door open. Liam looked at his wife, then at me. He looked exhausted, defeated, but for the first time in years, he looked awake. "I can't afford the hotel, Sarah, and I need to figure out how to pay my mom back for the car." Sarah scoffed a bitter, ugly sound. "Fine. Choose your mommy." She pulled her mother out the door and slammed it shut behind them. The house instantly felt lighter. The oppressive weight of their entitlement vanished with the click of the lock. Liam dropped his bag on the floor and sat heavily on the bottom step of the staircase. He put his head in his hands. "I'm sorry, Mom," he whispered. "I was an idiot. I let her get in my head, and I took you completely for granted. I'll pay you whatever you want. I'll take a second job. Just, please, don't hate me." I walked over and sat on the step next to him. I didn't hug him, but I didn't pull away either. "I don't hate you, Liam," I said quietly. "But apologies don't fix habits. You allowed me to be disrespected under my own roof because it was easier than standing up for me or for yourself." He nodded, tears finally spilling over. I know. What do I do now? You have 30 days. I told him, my voice firm but not unkind. You can sleep in the remaining spare room on the air mattress. You will buy your own groceries, take the bus to work, and save every penny. By the end of the month, you will find a room to rent somewhere else. He looked up, surprised. You still want me to leave? Yes, because a home isn't just a building you sleep in for free. It's a responsibility you build. You need to learn how to build yours. You can't do that under my shadow. Liam didn't argue. He just nodded, accepting the boundary I had set. A month later, Liam moved into a small, cramped studio apartment closer to his office. He and Sarah were attending counseling, living separately while they figured out their mess. As for me, I reclaimed my house. I unlocked the refrigerator, turned the heat back up, and painted the spare rooms a vibrant shade of yellow. When I sat on my patio with my morning coffee looking out at the hydrangeas, I wasn't a guest. I was the master of my own peace, and I had never felt more at home.